skipping train. In this we're all the same. We're links in the chain.
Yes, sir. What's up, everyone? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you're tuning in. This is Working It Out Across Generations. I'm one of your hosts, Justin.
And I am your other host, Dr. Lynn.
Awesome. And here we talk all things conflict, big and small, how these things show up in the world. And given our conflict resolution background, we try to give some tips out there for you to try out in your future endeavors and future exchanges. So we have a really cool episode today. We're going to be talking about, can opposites live together? And I'm going to let Dr. Lynn tell us why this is coming up for us today.
Yeah, I think we all heard that phrase, opposites attract, and opposites attract, and they live together. And we just thought, hey, this will be kind of fun and interesting because I bet all of us have had a situation where we've been involved with, whether it's in a relationship as a friendship or a roommate or a love interest, we've been involved with people that are like just the opposite of who we are. I know. Shout out to Minette, my roommate from college. Oh my gosh, I'm a morning person. My feet don't even have to hit the floor, and I'm awake. But I get up and I'm
energetic. It's not even just awake. You are rejoiceful for another day, which we all should be. But my gosh, yeah. 4 or 5 a.m. rejoiceful, and
yes.
That's
and I got the energy that I need for the day. And poor Minette, she was on the other end of things, and finally, she was my roommate. I think we roomed together 2 years, and she was just like, nobody's this happy in the morning.
Shout out Minette, I'm with you. Shout out to all the morning people, but Lord, let me get my brain going first.
Yeah. So it's that, and it's funny because I know me. I'm a talker, but when I first get up in the morning, I love the quiet. I love living with people that are opposite because I know that they'll be sleeping, and I get my quiet time, my alone time with God, my alone time with me. If I have to do something early, get that done, and so I appreciate that, but I also, when I'm ready to talk, then I'm ready to talk. I'm like, you're not awake? You're not up? That's the piece, too, that I find that the people who are opposite of morning people, not only are they going to sleep late, but they need some time to be awake, even when they've had their full sleep. And they don't want you talking to them, and they definitely don't want you cheery-eyed and singing and whatever else. But I think it's a great topic. I really do. I mean, there's plenty of ways that people are opposite from each other. I mean, hey, I know here in this country we have Republicans and Democrats married to each other, right? And it's lasting in many cases, and you had to get through dating or whatever, right? And so how do people make that work, or are people really making these things work when they see that they are opposites? So I'm ready to talk about it. If you're ready to talk about it.
Yeah, I'm ready to talk about it. I think even just in my researching around this topic, like I found a lot of studies and percentages and stuff that shows that opposites like don't attract. that in fact, if you want a lasting relationship, it seems like you should be going for someone more similar. That was kind of the connotation with a lot of the stuff that I was seeing in my research. However, I do know that this is something that even I remember hearing growing up, just as a phrase, right? Opposites attract and things of that nature. And I wonder just how much that phrase, I guess, made me, through you and through who you are, also attracted to difference. I think it probably played a big role, probably way more subconsciously, and I'm bringing it to the conscious, forefront now. But I do think at the end of the day, there is something about experiencing something different than what you're used to, than the way you do things. That is cool. And then, of course, as you'll hear me say and have heard me say, how far can we really take that? How far can that really go, to the point where, it goes from being cool and productive to at least finding some sort of synergy in that difference. And I think that even just in reflecting, on my personal experiences, on my personal relationships and friendships, right? Like, I know with my friendships, opposites definitely attracted, and it definitely like works. It's definitely something that we feed off of with each other. I know even with my friend group now, a couple of friend groups, I'm in kind of different friend groups, but a couple of my main ones, like for sure, they're made up of guys that are like that have like different personality styles and like different character styles. And like, we have the morning people, we have the introverts, we have the, extroverts, we have the, even just hot coffee versus, cold coffee. Like, it doesn't matter what it is. Like everyone is just like their own chemical makeup. And I think that's the really, really cool thing. And it's not afraid to come out, especially through like music taste and, all these different things, restaurants we got to eat. Right. So I know that that's something that I've definitely appreciated. And I think that, I've seen through my past and then through other, past like relationships and stuff, when you take it that extra step, it's kind of a hit or miss, at least through what I've seen. Right. And I think that hit or miss comes from really just how much structure is put around those said differences, right? So again, like making sure if the morning person is up in the morning and rejoiceful as yourself, right? Like that the other person still can sleep or whatever it is. I don't know, just making sure that there's some sort of plans in place, planning ahead a little bit, while also, being open to learning and figuring out each other's systems. I think that it's important that, if you're going to go the opposites attracting route, I guess, if that's even a route to go, I guess that's really just about who you are and what you like and what you're into. But if that's who you are, then definitely the deeper those relationships go, I think the more foundation is important for keeping those things everlasting.
Yeah. I'm wondering if that is getting stronger or not as strong as people. It seems like after COVID or because of COVID and people sheltering, and people have really done a lot more of keeping to themselves more.
Sure.
And so they're looking for, particularly online, people who are similar to them or have similar interests. I'm wondering how that period of time has affected this whole opposites attract thing, and whether or not people really aren't looking for that right now, because it's easier to sync and connect with someone who likes the same things as you. But
That's a great point.
Thank you.
It's a really great point. I think even for young people that's showing up through like algorithms and through, all that stuff, especially from post-COVID, right? Settling into kind of, not post-COVID, but like, you know what I mean? Like post locked in, initial lock-in. I definitely see how even just people have changed from when we first locked in to now. For sure. I definitely see that. And I think that's huge as far as, how it's shown up in our young people.
Yeah, because if you're wanting to be by yourself more or wanting to be more isolated, not be outside or around people, why would you be looking for people who have none of the same interests, right? You're looking for people who have those same interests. And you mentioned algorithms, and that's the other thing too. We're being socialized, right, to have the same interests or to be connected with people who have the same interests, to see the same kind of posts that interest us. And sometimes that may be opposite to our interests, but a lot of times it's about what we're interested in. And if you are getting all of the same, then chances are when you do connect with people like in real life, right, that you are not as in tune with looking for people that are opposite, because I think that you have to enjoy difference in order for you to really be in relationship with someone who's opposite from you. A lot of people like when we have the same interests. It's cool that you have the same interests, but everything has to be the same? Can you not be in relationship with someone who has different interests, even a lot of them, but maybe some similarities with you? I think it really is. It takes a lot of stretching of self and growing to see the good, right, in somebody who has different interests. Maybe you'll learn something new because you're willing to say, hey, I'm not really interested in that, but let me see, right, what that is for you. I mean, I'm the only one, right? I'm the only one that out of the immediate family. Y'all, everybody, all of y'all love sports. Good Lord. And y'all, when we come together on the holidays, all of y'all.
Nothing else. Nothing else. There's nothing else that should be on that
talking
screen.
it.
Nothing else should be on that screen. Even when the family prayer is going on. Yeah, we'll just mute it. Yeah, I'm real.
Anyway,
that's real.
And I'm the lone voice in the house on that, right? And so I'm talking about my niece, both my sons, my sister.
Yeah, everyone.
Everybody.
Yeah.
But for me, it hasn't denied me the opportunity to be interested in what you're interested in. I have no interest. Y'all played sports, so of course my interest was going to support you.
Absolutely,
right?
Which you did,
Which I did.
Mm-hmm.
I still did not make me interested. There are some people who, when their kids get involved in sports, then they end up loving it, right?
Yeah.
And I love that for them, but that never has been me. I don't want to sit down with y'all and watch the game, but I love watching you all interact with each other and the excitement that you have. Like, it's rare for me to go, okay, enough with the sports talk. Let's talk about something. I don't do that because I know that you all love that. And for me, I'm interested enough in everybody else to be like, okay, that's cool. Because if it's a holiday, we're all together. I enjoy that. I love that. If it's a regular day, I can go do something else while while y'all are watching your sports or whatever. And then also we agree to do something that we all might want to do too. So I think it's interesting. I would love to see if, as you said, the whole lockdown situation and then all the social media algorithms, I'd love to see how that's affecting the way we choose the people that we interact with, that we get into relationship with, or even roommate with,
or even respect, or even like look at as someone who's deemed as potentially like trustworthy.
Wow.
I would say that as we're getting a little bit into generationally, like if we're going into dissecting a little bit of the pandemic and how that the first lockdown kind of influenced culture now, at least being that we're in New York City, so like it's kind of a world of its own here, but I know for sure that a lot of people are doing a lot of the same stuff at the same time within my generation. So like I don't know what happened, but like there was just like another spike of attention and focus towards fitness, towards, especially right now, I don't know where it's come from, but like being a DJ and like house music and like all that stuff. So you'll see a bunch of kids who have like a turntable in their house now and like they're practicing and stuff like that. And so we definitely, like, as a generation, I feel like in the masses, we move with the masses. However, I know for me, again, like just being that my foundation was honestly to embrace difference, to dissect it, to be interested or at least curious. I'm extra grateful. It's not that I'm not grateful for some of those people, right? But I'm extra grateful for, my friend groups where we really are like all different people at the table breaking bread and watching even how we break bread differently. Like just the way we do that is something that I've always appreciated and always looked to embrace. So I don't know. I mean, do you think for your generation, like people were kind of moving in the masses? Do you think that it was one of those things where, of course you're going to find your group and find your thing somewhere and find the people within that. But as far as like collective focus, right? Like, how do you think your generation did when it came to, I guess, embracing difference? Like, I know in certain instances not great, but like on the little ones, like
like on the little ones. I was just thinking. I remember hearing a lot. Oh, you know, in reference to like maybe a couple. Oh, you two are perfect for each other. You have so much in common. You're so much alike.
Yeah.
I don't remember hearing, wow, you two are so opposite. That's going to be such an interesting relationship, right?
Yeah. That's interesting.
If anything,
that's
it was
interesting.
like, you two have nothing in common. I don't know how this is
it's
going to
work. Yeah.
That's more of what I heard growing up. We were not actually geared toward, moved toward, socialized toward being with people who were opposites. I just naturally, I love difference. I was intrigued by it, but I wouldn't say that it was nurtured, or I would say that if anything,
it's a good word.
You were primed to look for somebody who was like you, to be in your group of people, especially because there wasn't as much to do or to take your interest away from being around people. So if you're going to be around people, then you're going to be around a group of people who want to do the same kinds of things that you want to do. Even in my friend group as a teenager, I can remember that it was problematic if you didn't like the same music, right? You didn't know. Well, you didn't know the words to the songs to that Earth, Wind, and Fire new song, or that. Oh my gosh. You know, people made fun of you because everybody's singing along. If you even talked about, like, I went to high school of music and art, so I was exposed to all different kinds of music, including classical music. Was I going to tell my friends that I like classical music? My mom, though, she had a lot of classical music, like the Nutcracker was instrumental. It's a classical piece, right? Tchaikovsky. And I played that all the time. She played that a lot. So I really enjoyed that kind of music. But that wasn't something that my friends would be, interested in. Or if you said, hey, let's go. My mom's taking me to an opera. We were really not, I think, encouraged. I think we were not encouraged to step out of much of not only what our group, mostly our racial ethnic group, right? But also what our parents liked. Right? We had to go to church. Don't come for me. I grew up in the church. I'm a God person, but we went.
Don't come for me.
We went to church and got involved in all the things our parents wanted us to be involved in. And in fact, sometimes your friend group, not even sometimes, a lot of times your friend group was judged by whether or not they had the same commonality. Do they go to church? You know, right?
Yeah.
Oh, do they like this? Do they live here? Do they,
what's their parents' relationship like? And all that stuff.
Yeah, so it wasn't opposites attracting, opposites living together. I think that actually was looked as that's just not going to work and it's not worth the effort. And I don't, like I said, because I was always interested and attracted to difference, all of that didn't necessarily. And in fact, I'm going to give myself some credit here. I can remember that there was a friend group my sister had, and I didn't like them. But we're only a year apart, 13 months. And we had to spend a lot of time together because my parents had us in a lot of the same kind of things.
How did I not know that?
I don't know.
13 months?
Yeah, we're only 13 months apart. Yeah.
My bad, Auntie. I did not know that. That's crazy. Yeah. That's cool. That is cool. Wow. All right. You know, me and my brother are 6 years. So that's a gap.
He and Sakai are 13
True.
Same 13
wow.
months, July and August. Yes.
You live and you learn. From the people you grew up with. Like, that's crazy. That's cool, though.
That's why you have conversations, people.
Yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt. That was really cool. I genuinely didn't know that. So, like, live on air, I really didn't know that. And that was cool to find out. So.
It is. So, we did a lot of the same things together. As a parent, I understand it's easier. If I can get rid of two, they go off. get rid of both of them. I got some time in myself.
That's funny.
Right?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, that's funny.
It ain't personal, youngins. It ain't personal. If you're not a parent yet and you decide that that's what you want to do in some point in your life, you'll understand when it happens. Like, if you can get rid of the two, right, get them. But in any case, so we had some of the same friend groups, and I just remember me not always necessarily liking the same people.
Yep.
And a lot of times it was because of this, like, there wasn't a lot of diversity of thoughts, right?
Oof.
And interests. Cool. Really, there wasn't. And activity. And so, and even conversation, to be perfectly honest. And that just wasn't me, even though I learned to go along, to get along, especially because I had to spend time there because, like I said, you know, the two of you together go together. But it was interesting thinking about this now that we definitely were not brought up to look for opposite or to even think that that could work. Like, in fact, too much opposite is probably going to mean it's not going to work.
Yeah. I think even for us, like, just kind of not doubling down, but also clearing up a little bit of my point in the masses for us, right? I think it's one of those things where, you know, opposite does attract. I want to be very clear. Like, that's like really where we're trying to stay. I think that this is, I guess, where I'm doubling down, right? But it's the post, you know, after it's post attraction, I guess, when if you don't have that foundation, that's where the opposite that attracted you can start to get weaponized against you.
Right.
So that's where I think with our generation, it's one of those things where, like, we are open and we're more open to any and everything than ever because of just how many opportunities we've created out there for, you know, just the future. It's literally part of evolution, right? And I think with that, you know, especially when it comes to like politics or like whatever, stuff like that, that container to have that diversity of thought, to have the diversity in background and upbringing, right? And all those things to not be weaponized against people. I think that's what we need to, as a generation, take more control over for the future, to make sure that, you know, people do feel safe enough to live in their full truth, which is their truth. It's like everyone's truth, regardless of how similar it is, still has differences to it. And I think that's one of those things that, you know, I love the word that you used earlier with nurture. Like, it's something that I think that we actually need to nurture, as opposed to even feel like we, you know, potentially have to weaponize against people. Right. So I know that it's like just such a double-edged sword for us, especially when it comes to like even just being vulnerable. Right. Because there's always that fear of, especially when we're different, like, oh, well, wait, what if this is something that they're not attracted to anymore, even if it's just on this one day, right? Like, and what if the spark is gone or something like that? So it's very like deep for us. It's very deep for us.
Well,
Definitely
you know,
attracts.
it's interesting. I was thinking too that something we hadn't touched on is that there are more interracial relationships, right? And you know, and you think about in my mom's time, and even and while I'm coming up, it was illegal in the United States, right, to be involved in that relationship. So when you think about that, and people, I'm not sure if people consider that opposites. I would say, if you're paying attention, that's opposite.
I'd say that's one of the biggest opposites.
If you're paying attention, we are not all the same.
That's one of the biggest opposites. And it's one of those things for me personally, in which, like, just because you eat the food doesn't mean you're fully like nurturing that difference and what that difference means for not only you, but your dynamic. So I think I love that you brought that. I just think there's a lot more work within those kinds of relationships that I think, especially young people, you know, my generation, maybe don't think about ahead of time. When it comes into really deciphering if they're ready for something like that, because it's not just, you know, the food that you eat and the people that you meet. It really is so much deeper than that. It's really about people's identities that they're letting you into. So I think that's huge.
Yeah.
That's really
So
huge.
thinking about that, I guess y'all have a speed around that, because there definitely are more. Not that there weren't any, but now more and more. But are folks really gravitating to having the conversations about the way in which there may be some opposites? We cook with spices, y'all don't. Oh, just saying.
Just one example, I guess. But yeah, very true.
Yes. All right.
Yeah, very true. So let's start to get into some opposites that actually do attract. I think opposites that, we've heard all before kind of do complement each other, just to see, if that's even true and what y'all think. So the first one that we came up with, introverts and extroverts. Mm-hmm. This is one personally that I think does complement each other. Especially when it comes to the extroverts, especially I think that me being the extrovert, I guess, right? Like going out, having a good time, that's always something that I'm down for. I will never say no to, especially when it comes to being around the right people. And I know that definitely that introverted partner, provides that balance of even just possibly knowing when to call it a night, right? When to go to bed, right? When the fun's over, at least for that day, right? I think that this is a combination that does work pretty well. Friendship or relationship or even just acquaintance, whatever it is, I think introverts and extroverts actually do complement each other.
I think they can complement each other. And it's interesting. One of the things that I've heard recently is introverts who have to pretend to be extroverts because the world really loves extroverts more than introverts, and that's that's another category. But I do think that they can absolutely get along, because they can extroverts, we can draw the introverts out a little bit, or even be, I guess, sort of like the wing person, maybe that's the term for them, and help them to come out more in places that they want to. And then introverts can help us, like I said, kind of rein it in, and also learn how to be okay with ourselves and quiet, right, and still, and not necessarily have to be always out there in front in the life of the party. Even those of us as extroverts, because I'm definitely one too, although I do have a lot of times when I'd rather be introverted.
Yeah, me too.
And I've
definitely got some introvert in me that I've developed, but I definitely have some introvert in me too. So.
Right, and that's from being around introverts and really seeing like the value in that. But it takes a toll on you to be an extrovert all the time. It does. So, and then being with an introvert, can sometimes make you step back and take that time for yourself, so then you can refuel and be out there and be the extrovert again.
Yeah, from an extrovert, shout out all my introverts, for real. Y'all are definitely real ones. Next, we've got morning people and night owls. I think that a lot of people fall into this difference dynamic, right? I'm for sure a night owl. I know for me, definitely, like, even getting to sleep is tough, but I naturally my brain just turns on more at night. I don't know what it is, but like even after this, I'm probably gonna lay down for an hour, like something like that, right? So I know for sure, and you're a morning person. I mean, you'll tell your story, but I mean, she used to wake up at 4 a.m. and spend her time with God, and we, it was quiet and kept it quiet, but we still could hear like the door open or whatever little stuff going on, and we're like, what is that going, right? So, and that would be after a night of junk food and staying up playing video games and whatever it is, right? So again, I think that this is such a difference, that an opposite that actually does attract. I think that they both feed each other in countless ways. And I know that, again, even for me as a night owl, I do appreciate my morning people, as now I am someone that when I do have to get up, yes, it still sucks, but it's not the end of the world like it used to be. And I also have an appreciation for, just seeing that sunrise, having some quiet, having that cup of coffee, whatever it is, and really just embracing morning sounds, right? So I think that there's just so many pros to feeding into each other's differences within this dynamic.
Yeah, like I said, this works for me because I like the quiet And so living with the night owl, like, yes, there are things that we have to talk about, and the whole thing, like you said, like open the door, closing the door, and if you're a light sleeper, I guess roommates can hear you or whoever can hear you.
Just making sure you turn the music down. That's my whole thing.
Oh, that night owl piece, yes, ready to jam and you're ready to sleep.
Yeah,
but
that's our thing here.
Those are the things you got to work out, right? But I think that they definitely can work. I know for me, though, it's funny, like you try to go into each other's world. So for me, countless people can tell you that if we went out and we were late, I was asleep in the restaurant, on the table. Drinking didn't help, but and the fact that I'm a light drinker, right? But still, I'm not the night owl. So I would trying to venture into that world, even as a youngin' in my 20s and all that stuff, it was difficult. And now, shout out to all the women go through menopause who've been after menopause. I'm on both ends. I'm not as night owly as you, but I could stay up past midnight and get up at 6 a.m. In fact, I wake up naturally at 6 a.m. And so I understand sort of both sides, because I know you will stay up till 6 a.m. whereas I'm ready to get up then. But I do think this combination will work.
Yeah, very, very true. And then lastly, impulsives and planners. So impulsives, right? I would also add spontaneous type, right? But I think another opposite that definitely complements each other, not only attracts, but complements each other very well as one. It's definitely a little more, just a little more probably, just to live in the moment. What are we feeling at every stage, right? So it's like, what are we feeling for breakfast? Literally, what are we feeling for lunch? Like, all that stuff. Whereas, the meal preppers, the prepping for the week, getting their to-do list done, all that stuff. Again, I think that this is just another dynamic in which, both parties get to leave with things from that opposing party that actually will help increase their own quality of life. Still being themselves, still doing things how they do things, but adding a little more structure within who they are. I think that's really, really cool. And this is one that I've seen that shows up. I'm definitely way more of the impulsive. So any planner I have around me, I'm stubborn, so it's annoying, and I'll let you know sometimes it's annoying. But bottom of my heart, everyone knows like that is stuff that I do appreciate, and I know that all my other impulsives and people of spontaneity, definitely appreciate that too. So yeah.
Yeah, I know this can work because I've always been an impulsive and a dreamer. But I learned, I was raised, but one of my parents was an absolute planner, to a Virgo. And my oldest is a Virgo, and God keeps putting me around Virgos for this very reason. I love planning.
Yeah, okay, word. Yeah, word. Okay, word. So I was like, there's no way.
But
yeah,
here's why I love it the most, because it allows me to be impulsive. If I know I've planned it down to the dime, I'm confident that I can veer away from the plan and get back to it because I know exactly where I'm going, right? If I'm totally impulsive, I'm losing my place. Like, okay, now where am I going now? But I done planned this out, and now I'm going with intuition or just the moment, and I'm going to go do this thing, right? And then I can come back and go, okay, where did we live up? Boom, and go right with the plan. So
that's tough. Okay, that's tough. Yeah, that's cool. That is cool.
But I had to learn to appreciate that.
Yeah.
Because I hated that. Everything got me planned out and da-da-da. But now I love that I am both. So this combination to me absolutely can work. Learn from each other, because I do not like the planners that can't be impulsive. Like, come on, you got to, if it freaks you out that we said we were going to say A and we said B, and you don't know what to do now, then I can't deal with that either. I think this is a great combination to learn from each other.
Yeah, cool. That's good stuff.
Now, one of the things you want to make sure, though, is that even though opposites can attract and you can, live together well, you also want to look out for the things that can cause conflict, because then the whole thing is wrecked, right? You can't make the most out of the situation. So let's talk about those things. Don't ignore the signs that conflict is coming. Listen, we do conflict resolution work, and people always call me in when the dam has burst, the people, the village has drowned, and I'm not being disrespectful, right? It's just like, come on, you saw the cracks before it burst. Yeah. You didn't call me in then. You were there when the plans were made to build it. You didn't call me in then to see what might the potential conflicts be.
That's real.
So if you already know, wow, maybe you didn't know the person was a morning person and you're a night person, but it's been like a week and you're like, oh, then talk about it then. Hey, I just noticed, right? I'm very much a morning person. Or hey, we're getting ready to live together, move in together, room together, whatever the thing is, or we're really good friends, right? And I'm noticing that you texting 6 a.m. I'm still sleeping. Or what y'all used to do to me when I was on the West Coast is texting me, and it is, it's 3 a.m. or whatever.
We did. We didn't know it. We didn't grasp that fully younger.
So you've got to.
That's real.
Don't ignore the signs that conflict is coming and hop in then.
Yeah, I think that's
because you
huge.
may either be able to avert it, or if the conflict happens, you can resolve it easier because it hasn't piled up.
Yeah, just even the approach to the resolving it will be less of a weight on your heart, your shoulders, whatever it is. And I mean, being that we're in the business of like damage control, like professionally, right? Like we just know the benefit of getting ahead of something,
right?
On top of even just the planning ahead skill, right? Like that's a huge important thing. So I really love that. I second that.
Absolutely. Next is try to keep from making the other person change. I mean, I hear so many times that people go into relationships, love relationships and marriages with the intent of changing the person. And people are who they are. If you don't love who they are right now, right? Even though people can grow and should grow, but if you don't love who they are right now, then that's not something that is going to work or something you should say yes to. Because number one, people have to grow in their own time, and you can influence, and one of the best ways to influence is to have good conversation, but also if you want to model without doing this, like just live how you live and using that as a good example. And maybe if that's something that they want to change or that you're talking about and they're talking about changing, then they're seeing how it works on you is great. But if you are there to say, hey, look, I'm not liking this. This is not something, this is completely opposite from the way I do it or what I do. So you're going to need to change. Not me. Oh, I'm perfect. I'm fine. Right. You're going to need to change in order for this to work. That's not going to work.
Yeah, for sure. I think that we are very adamant in our education that we put out there, that we are planting seeds. We're not here to hammer points home. We're not here to badger anything into anyone's, psyche or routine or whatever, right? We really are just here to plant the seed and completely leave even the water up to them if they want to water it, right? We could leave them some water too, but it's like, bro, this is completely up to you, right? It's really more of just putting it out there and saying how it lands for you is how it lands for you. And let's talk about what comes up when you have that solidified. Right. And I think that also one thing that shows up too is maybe even just I love how you had said people, like when we were talking about introverts and extroverts, how introverts are trying to kind of make themselves like extroverted, and that even takes a toll on them, right? So then the extroverted person could be like, well, oh, like, what are you on? Like, what are you doing when the introvert's not necessarily as open that one day And then that causes a whole conflict, right? Of them just having a boundary, I guess, or not, further burning themselves out, right? To give the other person what they want. Let people be who they are, plant a seed, leave it up to them to water it, and it's completely out of your hands at that point, what people do. So, yeah.
And the last one is own your stuff. Don't make them the only problem, right? I can remember, listen, I was in college, so when Minette was just like, oh, nobody's this happy, and you getting up in the morning like this, it's getting on my nerves, and I'm like, well, you need to get up earlier. So now so she's the problem, not me, right? Because I'm the sunshine in the morning. but the truth is we're opposites, which means we're our own people. So it can't always be that the other person is the problem. No. It's the problem that's caused by the fact that as opposites, things are coming up that are seen differently or interfering or affecting one another. So that means that we got to sit down and problem solve this, right? If I am that morning person and I know that you really need your sleep and you like to sleep, then can I be quieter in the mornings? That's just a situation. I don't live by myself. If I live by myself, then we got no problem, right? Because I can put up boundaries to anybody who doesn't live with me. But if we're in the same household and one of the problems being caused by my being a morning person is the noise or then
not washing dishes or whatever it is. I don't know.
Person that's really super clean.
Yeah, I don't know.
Ooh,
something like that.
Those are some of the bigger conflicts, I think.
For sure.
Of the spendthrifts and the people that just don't spend anything, right? I'm not talking about the people that do well with money. I'm talking about they won't spend money on anything, and you are the person that'll just spend all your money up on the weekend, right? And living paycheck to paycheck or whatever, and then that affects the bills. All of those things could affect plans for going out the next time, all of those things. So you've got to look at what it is you bring to the conflict situation and own that. And yes, you can talk about the ways in which the way that they behave, the way that that they are adds to the conflict. But a lot of times when we have those conversations, we're making the other person the only problem and going back to the one before this where we're trying to get them to change so that then we no longer have a problem, where the reality is we add to it as well. Let's own that.
Yeah, people that can't do this, I'm sorry, y'all piss me off. I still love you, I still respect you, but please work on this in the sense of, especially when it comes to relationships, right? I think that it's very easy for people to, even after especially a breakup or a falling out or whatever it is, to go and even just talk to other people about whatever it is that happened and get some sort of validation on your end, right? Yeah. And it's not that there's not value in that. It's one of those things where I think owning your stuff, sitting with yourself first, seeing how these things land for you first will help in terms of even the language you use speaking about it in the future. Because I'm one of those people who thinks that when you put something out, it has way more of a chance of becoming real, right? Even especially when you're with yourself and with your own thoughts and all of those things, right? And so, please work on it. I could talk about this for a long time, but I'm not going to. But I know for me, even with fallouts, even with breakups, even with whatever, right? I could feel how I feel and say what I say. This person's that, this person's this, they did that, they did this. I didn't like that. I wasn't like that in the beginning or whatever in the first place. And here's how I showed up, and here's how that could have played possibly a role, as it takes two to tango in quite literally every exchange in which there's another party, right? So like, I really think we have to think about that more. Like just even saying that more, it takes two to tango. Really just helps you lock in more on your role and how certain things could have happened. Now, we're not justifying behavior. We're not justifying things that have happened to us. We're not that's not at all what we're saying. And there are things that happen in which you didn't have a role in it to begin with, right? Like, right person, wrong time, whatever it is, right? However people say that. But in those situations where we do, willfully, I guess, take on a relationship or whatever it is, right? And we step into those things, I think that for foundation's sake, it is important to remind yourself that I am a person, my own person, that is in this dynamic. I am a part of half or whatever percentage of this dynamic, which means I'm only a contributor. So I think that this is really, really important for just remaining humble, to be completely frank, and letting other people and see the humanity in other people and all that good stuff. So I think that's a really great list.
I'm hoping that we are not moving away from opposites, not only attracting, but really investing in being relationships with one another, whether it's friendships or roommates or love interests, marriages, living together, whatever it is. I'm hoping that we continue to look for it, because I just believe that there's a tremendous amount of growth in there. I also believe that we are not capable of doing everything. I know some folks think they're so perfect and that they are capable of, but we aren't. So looking for the gaps, oftentimes when someone's opposite from you, they fill in those gaps. And that's really what problem solving is all about, is being able to say, hey, you know what? I can't do this, but I know that you have an interest in it, or you're this way, right? Your dad and I, when you all were old enough to start to go to like parties and stuff, and he was just like, I don't care what time it is, you better call me if you need a ride home. Something happens, whatever, I will come and get you. I don't care what time it is. And I would say, I love you, and I agree with that, but I'm not coming.
I'm going to say sleep. Yeah.
Leave my sleep. Now, if it happens at 6 a.m., then I'm the one.
6 a.m. Yeah. 4, 5, like.
4, yeah. 4 on. I'm the one.
Maybe God could hold it for an hour,
But I'm sleeping at 1 o'clock.
That's funny. That's funny.
But that's the gap, right?
Yeah. And he did it.
And he did
there were a couple of times he had to do it. So,
he lived up to it. So
for sure.
I really think it's important for us to not just be looking for everyone, our friends, and everybody doesn't have to be the same.
No.
To have those kinds of differences, to learn from each other, to have those conversations, to understand and respect each other's boundaries, to create more boundaries, to have more conversation, to problem solve together. That's how we grow as a person. And a society.
Yeah, I think I'm just gonna second everything you said, and find the cool and the embrace in the difference. That's what I would say. And own your stuff. Yeah, own your stuff and own your differences, own your similarities. Right. I definitely second everything you just said, but double down on the own your stuff. Yeah. That's so important to me and so huge. It's all about accountability and plant seeds, y'all. We're not trying to change nobody. We're just trying to give, new perspective, new thought, an avenue to that. Not even necessarily, we don't have to be the ones that open the door all the time. So
we're not trying to change you, but we do want you to understand that life is about change. So you find ways to create those changes in your life.
Yeah, cool. It's a great episode. I really liked that one. It was a good conversation, and got to talk some opposites, and we're opposites in a lot of ways, as similar as we are in a lot of ways. So we definitely really appreciated having this episode with y'all. So where to tune in and find us. If you don't, tune in to E26. What?
I was going to say, we didn't make our big announcement. Season 3 is coming next week. Season 3. our season 3 opener is going to be great. It actually builds off of this conversation, but in a very different way.
Yeah, cool.
So make sure that you tune in on E26 TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Apple TV. Get that big screen TV if you haven't gotten it yet, so you can watch us on that.
Keep going. You already took it back over.
All right. I'm sorry.
Keep going.
All right. So please like us and follow us and watch the show on our Facebook page, right? Working It Out TV. And then subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can catch all of the replays, Working It Out Across Generations. We really want you there. We appreciate every like.
Yep, every follow, every subscription, every share, every comment, every form of engagement matters here. Small is all, it all adds up. Thank you so much to anyone and everyone who's ever tuned in. If you were tuning in today, we really appreciate it. Something that we say at the end of these episodes is conflict is here to teach you something about yourself. So go out there and find out what that is. I'm Justin.
And I am Dr. Lynn. And it was an honor and a pleasure to share this time with you, sir, and with all of you.
We'll see you soon.